A former classmate extended a wedding invitation to her with the sole purpose of publicly shaming her before hundreds of witnesses. Murmurs began spreading throughout the space. "My goodness, that outfit surely came from a second-hand shop." Another past schoolmate whispered harshly, "Still maintaining that authentic lifestyle, I see? Isn't your humble background embarrassing enough?" The bride then made her entrance. Crimson lipstick, a crystal-adorned dress sweeping across marble floors, her voice cutting through the expensive wedding atmosphere. "I warned you against sending her an invitation. She's humiliating." Security moved forward. She found herself being removed from the main celebration. However, nobody in that sparkling reception hall realized they had just disgraced the incorrect person because she served as the groom's primary supporter and was married to a billionaire. The crystal fixtures sparkled like suspended fireworks, illuminating the grand ballroom of Palais de Lumière, a luxury 6-star resort positioned on French Riviera clifftops. The atmosphere was saturated with tuberose fragrance and champagne scents, while the attendees, dressed in haute couture and adorned with precious stones, flowed like a living galaxy of prosperity. This wasn't just any wedding ceremony. It represented the marriage of Vivian LeBlanc, a fashion content creator with 1 million subscribers, and Lucas Beaumont, a technology businessman whose company had recently been acquired for $300 million. The invitation list featured notable influencers, corporate executives, and minor nobility. Each guest was carefully selected to maintain the event's exclusivity. Photographers were held back by numerous security personnel, and the hashtag #VivianandLucas was already gaining worldwide attention before the ceremony had even begun. Hannah entered the entrance hall by herself, wearing a lanterne, an outfit, a simple square-necked garment in light sage green, swaying softly with her movements. The outfit was plain, without decoration, ending just above her feet. Her brown hair was arranged in a simple bun held with a wooden accessory, and her sole accompaniment was a small gift wrapped in recycled materials tucked beneath her arm, secured with string. At 36, Hannah possessed a subtle yet remarkable beauty. She had gentle brown eyes, light freckles scattered across her nose, and a peaceful elegance that seemed to calm the surrounding commotion. Her simple shoes, worn but well-maintained, created gentle sounds on the marble flooring as she approached the guest registration area. The receptionist, an elegant woman called Camille, wearing a headset and carrying a clipboard, looked up from her station. Her gaze examined Hannah, noting the missing jewelry, the plain dress, the absence of a luxury handbag, and her smile became strained. "Staff members should use the service entrance," she stated with polite but sharp tone, indicating a corridor marked for employees only. Hannah's mouth formed a slight patient smile. "I'm attending as a guest," she replied, her voice peaceful, like water flowing over smooth stones. She presented her invitation, a cream-colored card featuring gold-embossed text, Hannah Lee. Camille's eyebrow raised as she accepted the card, turning it over as though expecting a barcode or error. "One moment," she said, stepping aside to speak quietly into her headset. Hannah remained calm, holding the recycled paper gift close as the initial group of guests passed by. 3 women in glittering dresses, one wearing ruby velvet, another in black sequins, and the third in a feathered cream dress, stopped, their laughter sudden and harsh. "Is that the food service worker?" the woman in ruby said loud enough for the entrance hall to hear. Her name was Elise Morrow, a lifestyle blogger known for brutal Instagram comments. The other 2, Sophia Reyes, a beauty brand owner, and Tara Clean, a reality television personality, giggled, their eyes scrutinizing Hannah's clothing. "What's that wrapping paper about? Did she raid a recycling center?" Sophia commented, taking a photo with her device. "This will make great content." Hannah remained composed. She looked at Elise directly, her expression calm but firm, like someone who had weathered harsher criticism and continued forward. "It's a present from the heart," she said gently, her tone courteous but resolute. Elise blinked, surprised by the quiet confidence, then sneered. "Oh, darling, this isn't an arts and crafts event." The entrance hall buzzed as more attendees arrived, men wearing custom tuxedos, women in gowns costing more than automobiles. They gathered in a loose half-circle around Hannah, drawn by the spectacle. A technology executive named Victor Chen, his cufflinks sparkling with emeralds, leaned toward his spouse, Laya, and whispered, "Who allowed the bohemian inside? This isn't a farmer's market." Laya, dressed in sapphire silk, laughed, her voice carrying, "I bet she's here to promote some handmade shop." A younger attendee, an NFT content creator named Jax, shouted, "Hey, wrong location, lady." Their laughter increased, phones flashing, turning Hannah into a joke before she could respond. Camille returned, now accompanied by a wedding coordinator named Margot, a thin woman with a strict hairstyle and a glowing tablet full of schedules. "Ms. Lee," Margot said, her voice filled with doubt. "Your invitation is legitimate, but—" She paused, examining Hannah's dress. "This is an elite social gathering. You don't appear ready for the event. Perhaps you're on the incorrect level. The staff dining area is below." Hannah's fingers briefly tightened around her gift, the only indication of tension in her composed stance. "I'm here for Vivian and Lucas," she said, her voice steady. "I received an invitation." Margot's lips tightened, and she tapped her tablet. "Well, there's no place card for you, and the seating arrangement is finalized. I apologize, but you must leave." Before Hannah could reply, Vivian LeBlanc appeared, a stunning figure in a mermaid-style gown that sparkled with Swarovski crystals. Her fair hair was styled in an elaborate updo, and her diamond crown caught the light like a royal ornament. She moved toward the check-in, her entourage following like celestial bodies around a sun. Her eyes found Hannah, and her smile froze, then transformed into something sharp. "Hannah," Vivian said, her voice loud enough to attract every gaze in the entrance hall. "Oh my goodness, you actually attended." She laughed, a brittle artificial sound, and turned to her bridesmaids. "Ladies, this is Hannah Lee, my former school friend, still pursuing that, genuine lifestyle delusion." The bridesmaids, Elise, Sophia, and Tara, erupted in laughter, their phones already recording. "That outfit appears to be from a thrift shop," Tara said, zooming in on Hannah's shoes. "And those shoes, darling, absolutely not." Elise leaned forward, her ruby dress rustling. "Hannah, sweetie, this is $1 million celebration. Why did you arrive looking like you just departed from a commune?" Hannah stood still, her brown eyes calm but penetrating. "I came to honor your special day, Vivian," she said, her voice soft but clear. "This gift is for you and Lucas." She extended the recycled paper package, its string bow simple but tidy. Vivian's smile remained, but her eyes gleamed with something malicious. "Newspaper wrap." "Seriously?" she said, refusing to accept the gift. "What could it be? A discount booklet?" "Oh, Hannah, you're so charming." The crowd laughed, the sound echoing through the entrance hall like a wave. Someone yelled, "Direct her to the gift station. She can sort the garbage." Margot, the coordinator, stepped forward, her patience exhausted. "That's sufficient," she said, signaling to two security officers who had appeared from the sidelines. "Ma'am, you're disturbing the celebration. Let's proceed." The guards, both tall and expressionless, approached Hannah. One, a man named Paul, said courteously but firmly, "Please accompany us. We don't wish to create a disturbance." Hannah didn't protest. She nodded, her shoulders straight, and began walking toward the exit, the recycled paper gift still in her arms. The crowd separated, their whispers cutting like blades. "What a shame," Laya Chen muttered, sipping her champagne. "Who brings a present wrapped in trash?" Victor chuckled loud enough for Hannah to hear. "I bet she's gate-crashing for the complimentary food." Jax, the NFT influencer, uploaded a video to Instagram with the caption, "When you invite your financially struggling friend to $1 million wedding just to show off." The guards guided Hannah through the ballroom, past tables covered in silk, floral displays dripping with orchids, and a string quartet performing Vivaldi. Guests leaned in, their laughter a chorus of mockery. "Look at her, still clutching that pathetic little package," Sophia said, her phone recording every step. "This is legendary." As Hannah passed the floral displays, Elise, Sophia, and Tara surrounded her, their gowns forming a glittering barrier. Elise leaned close, her ruby lipstick curling. "You're a walking disgrace, Hannah. Did you think we wouldn't notice you sneaking in?" Sophia flicked a manicured nail at the recycled paper gift, slightly knocking it in Hannah's arms. "What's inside? Your life savings? Oh, wait, you don't have any?" Tara, her feathered dress rustling, grabbed a champagne glass from a passing server and accidentally spilled it across Hannah's dress, the liquid soaking the pale sage linen. "Whoops," Tara said, smirking as the crowd roared. "Maybe that'll teach you to dress appropriately." The live broadcast zoomed in, comments flooding. "She deserves it. Hit her harder." Hannah's grip on her gift tightened, her face serene, but the champagne dripped like a public mark. Elise's live stream reached 5,000 viewers, comments pouring in. "Who is she? Total failure energy." Vivian posed for a photographer, her gown sparkling, and called out, "I told you not to invite her, Margot. She's embarrassing herself." Vivian climbed onto the platform, her crown glinting as she grabbed the microphone from the host. "Everyone, can we discuss this?" she said, her voice dripping with false sympathy as she gestured at Hannah, now halfway across the ballroom with the guards. "Hannah Lee, my former classmate, thought she could stroll into my wedding like this is some charitable gathering." The crowd erupted, their laughter a vicious wave. "Back in school, she was always the pleasant one, but look at her now, crashing my day with that rag and a gift wrapped in garbage." She raised a champagne flute, toasting the crowd, to maintaining our standards high and keeping Hannah out. A guest threw an olive, hitting Hannah's shoulder, and Vivian clapped, her smile venomous. "That's the spirit," she crooned as the live stream comments surged. "Savage! Destroy her!" Hannah's steps were steady, her face composed as if the weight of their stares was nothing new. The ballroom stretched on, each moment amplifying the humiliation. Tara tossed her hair, shouting, "Maybe she thought this was a community dinner." The crowd roared, their cruelty a living entity. Paul the guard leaned in slightly, his voice low. "Sorry, ma'am, just doing our job." Hannah nodded, her eyes meeting his briefly. "I understand," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. As the guards neared the glass doors, Vivian rushed forward, her gown trailing like a comet. She stopped in front of Paul, the guard, her eyes wide with feigned concern. "Officers, you need to inspect her gift," she said loudly, pointing at Hannah's package. "I heard she's been unstable since school. There might be something dangerous in there." The crowd gasped, phones swiveling to capture the accusation. "She's always been envious of me," Vivian continued, her voice trembling for effect. "I invited her out of compassion, but this is how she repays me." Guests murmured, some shouting, "Search her! She's a threat!" Paul hesitated, but his partner grabbed the gift from Hannah's arms, tearing the recycled paper to reveal a hand-stitched quilt. Simple, but intricate. Vivian laughed, harsh and triumphant. "A blanket. You're pathetic, Hannah." The crowd's jeers peaked, the live stream comments venomous. "Psycho, lock her up!" Hannah stood unmoving, her eyes steady, but the lie stung like a whip. As they neared the glass doors leading to the hotel's grand entrance, the crowd's taunts grew louder. Jax threw a cocktail shrimp, missing Hannah but landing near her feet. "Snack for the journey," he yelled, sparking cackles. Leia flicked her fan, muttering, She's ruining the atmosphere. A guest in a velvet tuxedo shouted, "Back to the thrift store, darling!" The mob surged, their phones filming Hannah's exit, her linen dress catching the light, her bun still perfect despite the chaos. She walked on, posture regal, but the crowd's savagery fed on her silence. The doors loomed ahead, promising exile. Elise's live stream hit 10,000 viewers, her voice gleeful. "This is Hannah. Nobody thinking she could blend in with the elite," she mocked, zooming in on Hannah's flats. "Bet she's sleeping in her car tonight." Comments exploded. "Humiliating. Kick her out faster." A guest yelled, "Make her trend for failure!" The internet devoured Hannah's shame, memes already circulating. She moved forward, serene, but the global ridicule burned, a wound no one could see. Then the doors flew open. A fleet of Rolls-Royces purred to a stop outside, their black and silver bodies gleaming under the Riviera sun. The crowd froze, phones still raised, laughter choking in throats. Julian Voss stepped out of the lead car, his presence like a storm breaking. At 42, he was a study in quiet power, tall, lean, with sharp cheekbones and dark hair streaked with silver. His tailored navy suit was understated but flawless, and his gray eyes held an intensity that could silence a room. The world knew him as the elusive billionaire behind Voss Enterprises, a luxury empire spanning hotels, fashion houses, and prestige brands. He was a phantom, rarely photographed, his life a fortress of privacy. The ballroom went silent, the quartet's music faltering. Julian strode through the doors, his steps deliberate, ignoring the gasps, the sudden hush. The host, a polished man named Claude, stammered into the microphone. "Is that Julian Voss?" Guests exchanged stunned glances. "The Julian Voss," someone whispered. "He never appears at anything." Julian didn't acknowledge the crowd. He walked past the chandeliers, the floral arches, the aisle lined with gold-trimmed velvet, his eyes fixed on one person. Hannah stood just outside the main hall near the doors, still holding her gift. Her hazel eyes softened as he approached, a small, private smile touching her lips. He reached for her hand, his thumb brushing her knuckles. "You okay?" he asked, his voice low, meant only for her. She nodded, her smile deepening. "Always, Julian." He turned to face the ballroom, his hand still holding hers, and raised his voice, each word precise and unyielding. "Apologies for the interruption," he said, his tone calm but commanding. "I just wanted to introduce the most important woman in my life. This is my wife, Hannah Voss." A silent tremor rippled through the crowd. Glasses clinked as hands trembled. Vivian's jaw dropped, her tiara tilting slightly. Elise's phone slipped, her live stream still running, capturing the shock. Comments exploded. "What? She's his wife?" Sophia's sequined gown seemed to dim, her face paling. Tara's laugh died in her throat, her phone frozen mid-record. Julian's gaze sharpened, his voice cutting through the silence. "Who ordered my wife to be escorted out? And for what reason?" No one spoke. The guards, Paul and his partner, stepped back, their faces ashen. Margot, the planner, clutched her tablet, her severe bun unraveling. Camille, the concierge, stared at the floor, her clipboard useless. The crowd's earlier bravado crumbled, their eyes darting, searching for an escape. Then a figure emerged from the aisle. Lucas Beaumont, the groom, his tuxedo crisp, his face a mix of shock and recognition. At 30, he was boyishly handsome with tousled blonde hair and a reputation for charm. But his eyes weren't on Vivian. They were locked on Hannah. "Hannah," he said, his voice breaking. "It's really you." He took a step forward, ignoring the gasps. "I tried to find you for years. You were the one who stayed up late helping me finish pitch decks. You and Julian gave me my first loan, believed in me when no one else did." His voice tightened, raw with emotion. "Without you, I wouldn't be standing here today. The crowd's shock deepened, murmurs rippling. She helped him. They funded his startup. Vivian's hands clenched, her gown trembling at then as she stood frozen on the stage. Lucas turned to Vivian, his eyes hardening. I can't marry someone who just humiliated the woman who changed my life, he said, his voice steady but laced with fury. You mocked her, Vivian, because of a dress, a gift. You don't even know who she is. He paused, his gaze sweeping the crowd. This wedding ends right here. Lucas stepped onto the stage, his face pale but resolute, the crowd's murmurs fading to a stunned hush. He faced Vivian, her tiara now askew, and his voice rang out raw with betrayal. You planned this, didn't you? He said, pointing at Hannah, who stood calmly with Julian. You invited Hannah just to humiliate her, to make yourself look better on your big day. Vivian's lips parted, but no words came. Lucas's eyes blazed. I found your texts, Vivian, laughing with Elise about putting Hannah in her place. You used her to boost your brand. Guests gasped, phones now filming Vivian's frozen expression. You're not the woman I thought I loved, Lucas said, his voice breaking. This isn't a marriage. It's a performance. I'm done. He tore off his boutonniere, tossing it at her feet, and the crowd's cheers swelled, comments on the live stream roaring, Yes, Lucas, end her. A microphone fell, clattering on the stage. Gasps echoed, sharp and jagged. Vivian collapsed onto a velvet chair, her eyes wide, fixed on Hannah. Vivian stumbled forward, her gown dragging, her voice shrill as she grabbed Lucas's arm. Lucas, please, she begged, tears streaking her makeup. This is our day. You can't throw it away over her. She pointed at Hannah, her voice cracking. She's nothing, just a nobody who tricked you into pity. Lucas yanked his arm free, his face stone cold. No, Vivian. You're the one who tricked me. You built your whole life on tearing others down, and I was too blind to see it. He turned to the crowd, his voice steady. This wedding was a lie, and I won't live one. Hannah's worth more than all of us combined. He walked away, leaving Vivian sobbing on the stage, her tiara falling to the floor. The crowd's applause thundered. The live stream hit 100,000 viewers, comments screaming justice. Vivian's finished. Her tiara slipped, dangling in her hair. The quartet stopped playing, the silence deafening. Elise's live stream surged to 50,000 viewers, comments flooding. He called it off. Vivian's done. Jax's phone dropped, his NFT empire irrelevant in the face of this implosion. Hannah stood beside Julian, her hand in his, her silence louder than any speech. She didn't need to defend herself. Her grace did that. Julian's eyes softened as he looked at her, but his voice stayed firm as he addressed the crowd again. Hannah chose to live simply, not because she has to, but because she values what matters. She's my partner, my equal, and the heart of everything I've built. You judged her without knowing her worth. Julian stepped forward, his hand still holding Hannah's, his gray eyes sweeping the room with quiet authority. You thought you humiliated a nobody, he said, his voice low but piercing. But Hannah owns half of Voss Enterprises, every hotel, every fashion house, every brand you flaunt. This hotel, it's hers. The designers you worship, she approves their collections. Guests gasped, their diamonds suddenly garish. She's funded startups, rebuilt schools, and shaped industries, all without a single headline. And me? His lips curved faintly. I'm just the man lucky enough to stand beside her. He nodded to Clara, who projected a screen behind them, a portfolio of Hannah's investments, billions in assets flashing across the ballroom. The crowd was silent, awestruck as the live stream comments exploded. She's a titan. They're untouchable. Vivian's face was gray, her world shattered by the woman she'd mocked. He nodded to a woman in a sleek black suit standing near the doors. Clara, his chief of staff, her tablet already glowing with data. Clara, pull the guest list. Cross-check it with security footage and social media. Anyone who insulted Hannah, name them. They're gone. Clara's fingers flew, her face a mask of focus. The crowd held its breath as security fanned out, their earpieces crackling. Elise was first, her gasp audible as Paul tapped her shoulder. "Ma'am, you're leaving," he said, pointing to the doors. She clutched her phone, stammering, "This is a mistake." But Paul was unmoved, escorting her past the floral arches, her ruby gown trailing like a fallen banner. Sophia followed, her sequins catching the light as she protested, her beauty brand empire crumbling with every step. Tara tried to hide behind a table, but a guard spotted her, and she was led out, her feathered dress wilting. Vivian's exit was chaos. Clara stepped forward, voice clear. "Vivian LeBlanc removed for defaming Hannah Voss." Guards marched her out, her crystal gown snagging on a chair, tearing at the hem. She screamed, "I'm the bride!" But the crowd parted, their silence damning. Paparazzi swarmed outside, their flashes merciless as her tiara fell, clattering on the marble. Guests whispered, "She set Hannah up." Online, her brand tanked. #Vivian LeBlanc trended globally, old tweets mocking the poor resurfacing, sponsors pulling out. Her empire of influence fell in minutes, her name now a cautionary tale. The ballroom was quieter now, the air heavy with reckoning. Lucas approached Hannah, his eyes raw. "I'm so sorry," he said, his voice low. "I didn't know you'd be here. I didn't know any of this." Hannah smiled, her hazel eyes warm. "It's okay, Lucas," she said softly. "You've made me proud." Lucas crossed the ballroom, ignoring the stunned guests, and stopped in front of Hannah. His eyes were wet, his voice thick with remorse. "Hannah, I had no idea Vivian did this," he said loud enough for the crowd to hear. "You and Julian gave me everything. My first break, my confidence, my future. I owe you more than I can ever repay." He knelt slightly, a gesture of respect, and the crowd's breath caught. "You're the most genuine person I know, and she tried to crush you for it. I'm so sorry." Hannah's smile was warm, her hand gently touching his shoulder. "Rise, Lucas," she said softly. "You've made the right choice." The guests erupted in applause, the live stream comments flooding. "Legend. Hannah's a queen." Vivian's face crumpled, her empire of influence dissolving as Lucas's loyalty to Hannah shone. He nodded, swallowing hard, and stepped back, his future uncertain, but his gratitude clear. Julian turned to Hannah, his anger fading into something tender. "You didn't have to come," he said, his voice for her alone. She smiled, touching his cheek. "I wanted to, for us." She stepped away, slipping into a side room for a moment. When she returned, the crowd's breath caught. Hannah wore a gown of ivory silk, its bodice embroidered with delicate gold thread, flowing like a river under the chandeliers. Her bun was undone, her chestnut hair falling in soft waves, a single pearl clip catching the light. She was stunning, not because of the gown, but because of the woman inside it. Humble, fierce, herself. Julian took her hand, his eyes never leaving hers. The officiant, a silver-haired man named Father Emile, stepped forward, his robes rustling. A hush fell as he spoke, blessing the moment, though no vows were needed. Hannah and Julian had made theirs years ago in a quiet monastery under Italian stars. The guests, humbled, watched in silence, some dabbing eyes. Victor Chi, Ian's cufflinks no longer glinted. Leia's sapphire silk seemed dull. Jax's phone stayed dark. The reception unfolded under a canopy of lanterns, the cliffs alive with music and moonlight. Hannah and Julian danced, her gown shimmering, his hand steady on her back. Clara approached during a quiet moment, her tablet dark now. "It's done," she said. "The internet's obsessed. Hannah's trending as the billionaire's heart. The clip's at 20 million views." Julian chuckled, pulling Hannah closer. "She is." Hannah leaned into him, her laughter soft like a melody only he could hear. She'd walked into judgment and walked out stronger, not because she'd fought, but because she'd stayed true. The world would remember this wedding, not for its scandal or wealth, but for the woman who'd faced a crowd and shown them what worth really meant. Hannah Lee Voss didn't need their applause. She was enough. If this story touched your heart, like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.